Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Edmund Ironside and we get to hear from Stitch today in Act 3, Scene 6. Now Act 3, Scene 6, it's just a short little scene and it's sort of like, let's have a little break to have some clowns because we need a little bit of clowning happening in here because things have been fairly intense, especially in this last scene. So Edmund Ironside is basically winning the war and Canutus is very upset about that. So Edricus hatched this plan that he's going to send a letter to Edmund Ironside basically asking for forgiveness and saying, can I come join your side? But he's going to double cross and feed all of the pertinent information back to Canutus, because we know from way earlier in the play he actually likes Canutus better than he likes Edmund Ironside because Canutus doesn't know his whole backstory. So in Act 3, Scene 5, he sits down to write and he's dealing with writer's block and he can't get the right words, but then finally he gets these words and he's really patting himself on the back for this letter that he's written. He thinks it's the best letter that's ever been written. And he decides that he can't really trust anybody else to deliver this letter, so he should deliver it himself, but he should deliver it in disguise so that he can see Edmund's reaction without Edmund knowing that this is really Edricus that's standing there right in front of him. So at the end of Act 3, Scene 5, Edricus calls in Stitch and says, hey, we got to switch clothing. And Stitch is like, well, if we're switching clothing, does that make me Edricus and I have to be you? And as he's saying goodbye, Stitch is like, goodbye, Stitch, like taking on the character of, here I'm Edricus. And that continues into Act 3, Scene 6, with Stitch dressed as Edricus, sort of yelling at the people around him, saying, come on, ye blue-coated slaves, you that wear satin doublets never but at good times, and wear a blue coat but once in a year, come on, I say, ye trencher-scraping cutters, ye cloak-bag carriers, ye sword and buckler carriers, ye rubbers of horse heels, ye devourers of fat oxen, ye swillers of March beer, come after me, I say. Take example after my virtue how to mount. I, proceeding from the loins of a man very little better than a gentleman, am now by my virtue and good education to be your master, your upholder, the staff of your lives and maintainer of your masterships. Uncover, ye rogues, so, cover, so, Sirrah, take my cloak, bear you my rapier, so, I am somewhat humorous, and it becomes me well. Follow me, follow! How I can play the part. Oh, what a fool is my master to change his nobility for my worship. So there's not necessarily a lot of substance to this monologue. He's taking on the persona of Edricus and berating all of the soldiers around him saying, come and follow me. And he's like, I'm now Mr. Fancy Man, so y'all need to take care of me. So if I say cover your heads, do it. If I say uncover your heads, do it. You need to take my cloak and carry my weapons for me and all these sorts of things. And at the end, he's having a little bit of fun with it too. He's like, this is kind of cool and I'm good at it. Like, he's my master Edricus is the silly one for taking on the persona of a servant when, I'm so good at taking on the persona of nobility. He's sort of chuckling about that. So it's not like the content of this monologue isn't particularly moving, but I do think that it's interesting to see Edricus through somebody else's eyes like this. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Stitch has seen Edricus talk like this and treat his soldiers like this, and that's why he's emulating this and thinking that he's doing a good job at doing it. So it is just sort of an interesting insight into Edricus's character, that maybe he's not as sly and cunning as he thinks he is or would like to think that he is, if such broad, brutal strokes can be painted of him by his serving man Stitch. So then some of the stuff at the end, like carry my rapier and all that, is directed at this soldier named Roger, who only exists in this scene. This guy Roger only exists in this scene. And he's like, wait a second, but Stitch, you're Stitch. We're supposed to like call you sir? And Stitch makes fun of him. He's like, you're supposed to call me sir? And starts berating Roger. And Roger's like, this doesn't make any, like, you're not actually our master. And Stitch is like, okay, everybody else come with, but Roger, you're going to get what's coming to you. Kind of a thing. And that's the end of the scene. So the scene is just a little bit of clowning, but it does give us some interesting texture in terms of who Edricus is and how he is perceived by the people around him, especially since he thinks he's being so cunning and sly with this amazing letter that he's just written that he's going to take off to Edmund Ironside. So anyway, we still got to find out what's going to happen with that letter. We still got to check back in with Edmund. We still got to find out, is what happens to Canutus in the end. All of these questions are still to be answered. So come on back tomorrow for more, and we'll see what we can figure out. Mwah.